I want you to start this lesson by drawing Division Man along with me and writing down the steps to solve a division problem. We're going to start by giving him 2 division eyes, a multiplication nose, and a subtraction mouth. Then I want you to draw a square around his face. Give him 2 lines down for a neck. Go a line out and a line out. And draw down to make an arrow. And then if you want to give him some hands and feet. This is our Division Man. So our steps when using Division Man are step 1, divide. Like his eyes say. Step 2 is multiply. Step 3 is subtract for his subtraction mouth. And step 4 is the arrow, and it means bring down. I want you to repeat the steps several times so that they kind of get stuck in your head. So our steps are divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Say that several times over and over again so it's stuck in your head. After you repeat your steps several times, I want you to draw down this problem and we're going to work it out together. I want you to start by taking one of your fingers and covering up every number under the division sign except for the first number. So right now your fingers should be covering everything except the 4. So over 2 and 6, and our first step is divide. So I'm going to look at the number 2 and ask myself, how many times can 2 fit inside of 4? So how many times could I put 2 inside of 4? And I know that 2 fits into 4 2 times. So that was step 1. I just divided. Step 2 is multiply. So we're going to take the number above the 4, 2, and I'm going to multiply it by the outside number. So 2 times 2 is 4. Step 3 is subtract. I know that 4 minus 4 is 0. And my last step is the arrow, and it meant bring down. Now, the steps of the division problem, when we repeat them, they must be repeated in the same order. You cannot skip a step. So I'm going to go to the next number under the division sign, which is a 2, and I'm going to bring it down. So now I'm going to go right back up to step number 1, which is divide. So I'm looking at the 2 that I just brought down, and I'm going to ask myself, how many times can 2 fit inside of 2? Well, it can fit in once. And I'm looking at my arrow and my answer. They should be directly above each other. Now I go on to repeat step 2, multiply. So now I'm going to do 1 times 2, which is 2. Now on to step 3, which is subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. And now I'm down to step 4 again, which is bring down. So I go to the next number under the division sign, which is 6. I bring it down. And this is going to be our last time through. So I'm going to go back up to step 1, which is divide. So looking at my new number under the division sign, I'm going to ask myself, how many times can 2 fit inside of 6? And I know that 2 fits inside of 6 3 times. Now back on to step 2. Multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract. 6 minus 6 is 0. Now when I go to step 4, I'm going to look up here, and there is no other number for me to bring down. So I can stop here. My answer is the number above the division sign, 213. In order to make sure that I did this problem correctly, I can check it with multiplication. So I want you to go to the side and write 213 times 2. I know that 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. My answer here should be the same as the number that I started with under the division problem. Let's try another example. This time when you have the problem down, I want you to have your steps next to you to use as a reference. So once again, I don't want to look at this whole number, 702, all at once. You're going to take one of your fingers and cover the 0 and the 2. So all I see is 7. This time when I solve the problem, I'm just going to say what step I'm doing as we go through it. So all I can see is 7, and I ask myself, can 3 fit into 7? And it can. If you're not sure how many times, you need to go to the side and try several math facts. So I know 3 times 1 is 3, and that can fit inside of 7. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 will fit inside of 7. And 3 times 3 is 9. And because 9 is bigger than 7, 9 will not fit inside of this number. So the closest I can get to 7 is 3 times 2, which is 6. So I know 3 can fit into 7 2 times. Divide. Step 2, multiply. I just did this multiplication problem right here. 3 times 2 was 6. Step 3, subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. And step 4, bring down my 0. Now I'm going to go back to my math facts. I know that 3 can fit inside of 10. I know that 3 times 2 is 6. Now I want to look back at 3 times 3. That was 9. If I try 3 times 4, and if you're really close, you always want to try the next number just in case. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 is bigger than 10. And it's not going to fit inside of it, so I'm going to use the next closest math fact. Now, even though I scratched it out here, I don't want you to erase your math facts from your scratch work. I want you to go back and use them to help you later in the problem. So the closest I can get to 10 is 9. So 3 can go into 10 3 times. So that was dividing. Now I'm going to multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I'm going to subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1. Now I bring down the last number. So now I can look back at my math facts, and because it's already there, I know 3 can fit inside of 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. So that was me multiplying. Now I subtract. 12 minus 12 is 0. And there's nothing for me to bring down. So my final answer is 234. And to make sure I'm right, I'm going to go to the side and check it with multiplication. So 234 times 3. I know 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And this number matches the number under the division sign, so I know my answer is correct. This example is going to be with a double-digit number, and even though it's a bigger number, our strategy doesn't change. So you're going to start the problem by covering up every number but the first number under the division sign. So I've covered up 0 and 4. And I look at 12 and I ask myself, how many times can 12 fit inside of 2? Well, 12 is bigger than 2, so it can't fit inside of it. So in this case, I'm going to put an X above the 2. My answer should always go above the number that I've brought down. So now I'm going to move my finger over and I'm going to look at this 0. So now the answer isn't 2, it looks like 20. And I know that 12 can fit inside of 20. So this is when I go to the side and use my math facts to find out how many times. So I know 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. And 24 is bigger than 20. So that's not going to work. 12 can fit inside of 20. So I can say 12 goes into 20 one time. That was me dividing. Now I'm going to multiply. 1 times 12 is 12. Next, subtract. 0 cannot take away 2, so I'm going to have to borrow in this problem. I take the 2 and turn it into a 1 and move 1 over. Now 10 minus 2 is 8, and 1 minus 1 is 0. My last step is bring down. And now I'm going to look at 84. How many times can 12 fit inside of 84? Well, I know that 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. 12 times 5 is 60. And I could probably keep going. 12 times 6 is 72, and I'm really close. And 7 times 12 is 84. So I actually hit exactly what I needed. 12 can fit into 84 7 times, so that was me dividing. 7 times 12 is 84, multiplying. Now I'm going to subtract. 4 minus 4 is 0, 8 minus 8 is 0, and there is nothing for me to bring down. And as always, I'm going to go to the side and double check it. 2 times 7 is 14, carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Down a row, add a 0. 1 times 7 is 7, and 1 times 1 is 1. When I add 4 plus 0, I get 4. 3 plus 7 is 10, and 1 plus 1 is 2. And once again, that is the number that I started with. Your homework is to practice these 4 problems. Remember to refer back to Division Man and your notes to remember the steps. Remember when solving these problems to go to the side and start listing out your math facts in order to help you to divide.